Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. I'm very excited to be joined today by Kelsey Ray Banerjee. How are you doing today, Kelsey?
I'm doing well, Andy. Thank you so much for having me.
I was really looking forward to having you on the show. So, Kelsey is the co founder of Obsidian Identity. Her company specializes in user experience, content, brand identity, and copywriting to help clients grow revenue. And I've had the pleasure to work back and forth with Kelsey and collaborate. And I loved getting to know more about her solutions and how her company provides help for clients to generate more revenue and more signups. So today we're going to be talking about fine tuning your company's website for more conversions. And we're actually going to dive into the anatomy of a high converting website by showing an example. So to kick things off, Kelsey, who are you surrounded with and what inspired you to do this kind of work?
Yeah, sure. So actually growing up, I grew up in a very small business focused environment. My grandfather was kind of an independent contractor for architectural renderings. I have an uncle who does kind of rubber valves and different kind of more industrial B2B work. And so I was basically building web pages and experimenting as early as like middle school, like when it first kind of came out
Oh,
and
wow.
people were
Okay.
getting personal computers. But I found kind of blogging and content to be my true passion. And as it happens, I ended up marrying a stellar designer who really, he's a mechanical engineer by education, a designer by trade. And together we decided to, work to provide more value for clients and for other businesses that we enjoyed working with.
Absolutely. That's so much fun. You guys work together, right? And
Yes.
you both have your different talents and skills and what you bring, but it's so fun because you guys get to work together. So I love that. So to kind of kick things off here, what would you say are three keys to having a successful website?
Right. So obviously websites are getting more and more complicated, but I think the core the fundamentals of website design and website content have really stayed the same. And the first thing is to have a very clear and concise user journey. So you want, your ideal customer to be able to navigate that website easily, and they should almost feel like they don't have to think about where to go next. The second thing is to actually follow industry specific conventions. While you want to stand out, if you look like you're not, a part of, if you're a financial advisor, but you look like, you're a fintech or a bank or something like that, if you stray too far, or even worse, you're outside of your industry altogether, you're going to confuse your target customer, and that's going to lower conversions. And then you really want to monitor your calls to action throughout your website and understand, where you're sending people, what kind of actions you want them to take on each specific page. And when you have those three things, then you have a really solid foundation to kind of keep building and growing your website.
Awesome pieces of advice there. No doubt about it. Now, on the flip side of that, what would you say are two or three key pitfalls to avoid?
Right. So I think the number one pitfall that I've seen, especially in the last 2 years, as sites have gotten bigger and bigger, is that the overall user navigation becomes very complicated. So creating extremely complicated navigation bars can really decrease not only people going through your site, but them finding what they need, even if you think you're kind of segmenting it out. And of course, there's different cases you'll want to look at in terms of like how many people that you serve and different audience personas and all of that. It differs per industry, per website, but making sure you have a very laser focused navigation is something that just, it sounds so simple, but it's actually, it can get very difficult.
Right.
The second thing in terms of design is not leaving enough space for the text to actually be readable. So while you want short, kind of concise copy that really drives, people to click and all of that, you want to make sure that you haven't cluttered the page. And when you have a very complicated offering where you have to explain, especially in technology, it can be really easy to overdo the content and or overdo some of the visual elements. So there's a balance you have to strike there. And then finally, forgetting your kind of unique selling points. And I've seen this happen a lot where people want to couch their kind of their main features in very easy to understand language or very safe language. And so what ends up happening is they forget to kind of point out what makes them significantly different from their competitors. And
Right.
so once you kind of model your website structure based on those unique selling points, then you really start to see a difference in terms of the value and the types of clients that you're getting. Like it's going to be a better match.
Absolutely. And it's been my experience as well, especially in the technology world. People tend to talk about features, right? Where the end customer is really thinking about, is this going to help me make money, save time, decrease my costs, things like that, and what's different about this than some other tech, right? So you got to really pull that out front and center, I feel like. And I've watched your copy and I see that it's easy to see what the value is, right? What the value is right there. And then tell them then after that, like how it works kind of. So, all right. So now I'm going to let Kelsey actually share her screen and she's going to walk through the elements that make up a high converting web page. So please feel free to take it away from here, Kelsey.
Definitely. Just sharing my screen. Okay. Here we go. All right. Can you see it all right?
Yes.
Okay, great. So this is an example website that we've done for a client called Encompass Advisors, which is a fiduciary financial advisory firm. They do wealth management services. And this is actually, I believe, the services page. So I just want to point out a few different things that we've done to kind of improve the user journey on the site. This is the second most visited link after the contact us page.
Okay.
The home page, I generally don't count because as a landing page, the home page usually includes, it's almost like a visual navigation all the way through a site, right? So you're going to have a little bit like, each section's like 20% of each of the additional pages. And the goal of our homepage here is to give them an overall idea. And this is one of the first pages they tend to go to after going through the homepage. So this is kind of a better example of your overall landing page idea. So again, on the homepage, we have calls to action for booking appointment, but also for the newsletter and also for a book that the firm has published. So there's a few different things at the bottom that kind of give you that overall authority perspective, where this is a little bit more focused. And it also allowed us to kind of go into find ways to be creative with giving people immediately what they need, but also allowing them to kind of dig for more information. So I'll show you what I mean by that. And as you can see with the top here, the above the fold is very clean. There's not a lot of elements. We have this pattern here. And we have a lot of white space to make reading easier.
Right.
We also have maybe 7 links in the navigation, which is a bit much, but it was considerably less than there are about 20 overall navigation links in the original bar. So there were a lot of sub pages, and we basically condensed those. And what happened was people ended up spending about 37% longer going through. Well, they 8% longer per page, but they were also moving through the pages at a 37% increased rate. So we got people moving through the site more with fewer pages.
Right. Staying around, not bouncing.
Right. Not bouncing. And then also actually reading and investigating because they didn't have to think, oh, which one of these 20
Where do I
pages
go
is
next?
right.
Right.
So,
Right.
so this is an example of one of the key pages that clients go through or potential clients go through. And again, you're seeing a lot of kind of white space. We use 2 different font colors here to help making reading easier and also kind of focus on key elements. And then we use an accordion here that, it has a fancy automation, but or animation, but you have a lot of reading here if people want to read more about the specific item that they need, and if there's the call to action to make an appointment after every single one. So if they know they for sure need 401k held away account, they can go here, they like what they read, they make an appointment.
Okay.
So as we go down, we have some more information about qualifications. Because again, we kind of want to point out, on the services page, what makes, John Green and Encompass Advisors like a good fit. And this is a lot on his expertise and his work history here, as well as his different credentials and certifications. And then we have another make an appointment. So this page is all about getting people to get to that appointment page. We have an option to go to a portfolio, again, for the user journey. If this isn't enough, then hey, you know what, you can look and
There's
see,
more and
you know,
more, right?
right, like what do we invest in, which is something that we did to kind of differentiate. You know, we can be transparent about the different funds because as a fiduciary, he has different kind of advantages than going with a broker. So that, you know, for that specific industry, it was something to consider. But we really based a lot of the user journey on, you know, his USPs with that. We have a mini CTA here, which is the newsletter. And then there's more contact information and another, you know, even if someone just has a question, they can go to a booking link. So this is a very simple kind of page. And this is basically the layout across all the pages outside of the home page. Is there are usually the main CTA is to make an appointment with kind of a secondary one for the newsletter. Since moving to the website, the average conversion rate for financial advisors, just in general, is about 0.75%. We get that, and at times 1%, maybe up to 2%, depending on the CTA. So it's converting at a higher rate once we kind of reduce kind of the, you know, the navigation, the pages, we condense the information, and then we kind of laid it out in a more easy to read format that was also a little bit more, I would say, within its industry. So for example, I had mentioned that earlier that it's going to be industry specific. I have an example of the older website. I don't know if you can see it. Is it there?
I'm still
Or
seeing the first one.
okay, let me just quickly, I just want to show this as a quick example. Let me see.
Sure.
So you can see what I'm talking about industry wise. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Yeah, so this was the old website. You can't see all the drop downs because it's the general navigation, but this was about, you know, each tab here had a different, like 2 or 3 links underneath. So he was using red, for example, which when you're talking about money, we want to be using green. So we switched to green as the main color layout. We had kind of a general hero here, which had, you know, a good CTA here, but it just wasn't specific enough to grab attention. And then we had kind of a story. It's very kind of generic, but you can see it's not really spaced in a readable way. There's a lot of content here with the 3 different columns. You know, someone's going through all this kind of wall of text and kind of seeing, you know, what is this? Is it what I need? And we kind of went with a way that a user can go through it and they don't really have to think as much. The green, the kind of rich colors, the rich imagery, it kind of has that luxurious feeling. And at the same time, we were able to streamline some of the content without, you know, hiding the CTAs or the calls to action. So this is
Right.
kind of example of what it looked like before. So in addition to kind of condensing, we kind of rebranded it as well to make sure that everything from the fonts to the images kind of reflected that overall advisory, wealth management, wealthy feel. So definitely getting that overall persona into your design can be extremely helpful. But let me just go back to website. There was one more quick example of a landing page I wanted to show. And this is for when you're doing a specific kind of campaign.
Right.
So this is an example for a webinar, and this page had about an 8 to 9% conversion rate. And it was very easy to just kind of copy and, you know, change the images, change the content, and you know, just duplicate the results. So you have a very big, you know, headline here. We have the logo here. Basic information, the CTA or call to action is just right up front. We have save your seat, which is a little bit less of a an ask than like book your webinar. You know, it sounds a little bit more conversational.
Right.
It's a little bit you're asking less, like they're just saving it. They don't have to do anything. They don't even have to show up theoretically. Like
Right.
mentally, they're in that thing where it's just easy to do.
But you're getting their contact info and knowing they're interested.
Exactly.
Right.
So we can send them a replay, you know, worst case scenario, they have the replay. We can send them more information.
Right.
You know,
Right.
very simple copy, big headlines, even, you know, this text, I think is like 16 or 18% font size. So very readable, whether you're on a phone or whether you're on the computer. Very simple 1 paragraph, like descriptions of the key points that we're going to be discussing. an example previous webinar, always having past examples or testimonials. And until recently, fiduciaries couldn't have testimonials. So we had to go with what we could get. So, the previous webinar is a great example. And then about John and the firm here to give that final expertise. And ideally, if this wasn't through MailChimp, I would have put the call to action again at the bottom. But this still worked at about 8 to 9% conversions. So it did pretty well. And it's something that we can keep reusing once you have this template. So again, just easy to read. You can see there's no navigation, nothing to distract anybody. The user journey should be about, what they're getting. This is basically the description of the overall webinar, a quick, they can scan this. They don't need to read everything if they're, preoccupied, they're at work looking for, ways they can up their game and things like that.
Right. There's a headline in each section. So that's the main idea. They can see that there.
So it's skimmable. It's easy to read. I mean, all of these things, they sound very simple, but they can make the biggest impact on the conversion rates of the site. It's just making it easy for the user to stick with you and get through to the bottom of the page.
Right. Absolutely. I like it that above the fold is the action. Call to action right there. Right.
Right.
And then you can dig in a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, So I love that. Really, really nice landing page.
Thank you. Yeah, this was fun to make.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think those are kind of the main points that I think if you just stick with those fundamentals, like everything else will be so much easier to decide upon and test, whether you're testing colors or button sizes or the content itself or specific design features. If you just stick to those core components and just making sure that it feels intuitive, it feels easy to read, then, I think you're like 80% there in terms of, having a very company specific on brand landing page or website.
Right. Absolutely. I could see how this would convert, right? I can see why it would convert. So absolutely. Yeah. Great advice there.
Thank you. So should I stop the?
Yes, you can stop the screen share now if you want to.
Okay, I think I got all of the things. I know I kind of rushed through it a little bit. But
no, that was a really good, I feel like pretty deep dive, honestly. That was really good. So thank you so much for that walkthrough, Kelsey. That's really awesome information for anyone really looking for more conversions. A lot of really good meat on the bone right there, as I say. So this last question I ask all of my guests. What would you say as a final word of advice for our friends out there listening or watching today?
Right. So for me, I think as much as, I work in copy and we work in design and we work in brand and all of that, really the key for success for me and what's really helped me to grow as a professional is just connecting with other professionals. And these don't necessarily have to be directly related to branding or freelancing or, specifically what I'm doing in the financial industry, but it's always given me new insight of how I can, try something new and integrate different outlooks into my work. And so I think if there's one thing that will always kind of keep you on top of your game, it's, just connecting with motivated and inspirational individuals who really care about what they're doing.
Very great advice. Awesome. I know we get to talk about every other week, basically, collaborate back and forth. And that's a lot of really very helpful for me. And really appreciate the insights that you bring. And so that's going to do it for this show for today. Thank you for watching or listening, everybody. And we'll see you again soon. Take care.